Today what we have to do on the Pontiac is the rear differential pinion seal. When I bought the car it was a little drippy and I knew it was something that I wanted to get to, so we're going to do that today. We got the car back end up on jack stands and I got the front wheels chocked. She's all ready to get to, so let's get at it. Rear differential pinion seal.
So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the bolts. I've already got them soaking in some blaster. I'm sure they're pretty stiff, so let me soak those U-joint straps and let's get those broken free. This way I can drop this end of the drive shaft down to get to that yoke. I don't think I have to take it off at the front, but for now let me just do that and go on from there. I also wanted to mark, as you see I took a marker there, and you'll see the yoke where the line transitions over to it. I want to make sure that that's going to go back on the same way it came off, in the same spot. Okay, so what I did now is to get the drive shaft out of the way to work on that. If you can look down there, I've got a scissor jack with some 2x4 stacked and a block up underneath the drive shaft. I basically just pushed it up to the floor and then I secured it by tightening just by hand that scissor jack. So now it's out of my way. Now we can move on to getting that yoke off. Okay, so now at this point, with the drive shaft out of the way, you've got the center nut here, and you got to take into account what's called preload, and that's how much torque is on this nut onto the yoke. So what you do is you take a chalk or something, mark the center of the shaft right here, count the threads. In this case there are 2 showing threads on the side, and then what you're going to do is you're going to make a mark here and then on the side of the nut, and then also I'm going to mark it at the top of the yoke, so when I go to put all this back together it's lined up. So what you do is once you get this original nut off, I'm reusing the bearings, so the manual says when you reuse the bearings you're gonna torque it back to where the line that you make will line up, and then bump it tighter about a 30-second once you put the new seal in, and that should put it in the ballpark of where the preload has to be, and that's important. So let me go ahead, get a chalk line on that, break this guy free, and then get it pulled off, and we'll move on from there. Okay, so what I did was I marked it with the yellow chalk line, and then on the left side I put it just so I know that's the left side right here, and then the nut and the shaft and the nut, and then down here on the bottom where the yoke is going to be, and that'll get me in the ballpark of where the preload should be. So okay, you can see where the 2 dots are on the shaft right there. I got the yoke off, took a brass hammer and pounded it from the back, basically just pounded it in, towards the front of the car, and was able to get it off. It wasn't on there real tight. You can see it's got the splines on the side. We're gonna go clean that up in there a little bit better before we pound in that new seal. I got it on arrival today. I think it should be here in about half an hour, I think, so we can move on and get that in. The rest of it's in the shop. I'll show you because it's kind of tight underneath the car to show you everything here. So let me go in the shop and show you where I marked everything and go from there. Okay, there's the pieces on the bench. So let me tell you how I got this. First, to get the yoke off, I used this hammer I got right here. It's an old brass hammer, and I just basically, when it was in the car, when it's on, I just tapped from the back evenly on both sides, and eventually she worked right off. They're not on there all that tight, but you can see I have it marked, and that's good. And with this nut, again, that chalk line you can see is going to be measuring when I 2 threads over, and then it's just a 30-second more, and there's my preload. Here's my washer. We'll go ahead and put those back in. Now, when I got that seal out, a couple ways people take these out. You can see it's all, she was leaking.
So what some people do is they take a screw and they screw it right into the housing of this and pry it off with a claw hammer. I don't like doing that on these particular seals. I don't want to run the risk of hitting the wall or putting shards of shavings of metal inside that bearing. I don't want to do any of that. So my way is, like many others, you can see right there I got a hole in the side of it. Basically I just took a screwdriver, and when it was in the car, I pried it in, pounded it in with a hammer, and then I just pried it out. It came out pretty easy. They're not in as tight as people might think, but anyway, I got a new seal, should be coming shortly here, and yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll get it all back together for you, but I just wanted to show you, it's too cramped under that car, there's just no room to film anything. So we'll clean all this stuff up, what I'm going to reuse, and make sure everything stays marked, and we'll put it together. Okay, got the seal in. I went with an SKF 19273 is the part number. It's got that coating on the outside so you don't have to put any kind of Permatex on it. Pounds right in. I got it at Rock Auto. It was like with tax and shipping like under 14 bucks. I think it was 13 and change. So let me get it in the car.
Okay, I got the seal pounded in, and it's pretty even all the way around. I just used my brass hammer and tapped it. It did a good job getting it. And the marks on right here are still up and down. I haven't moved it. So, and I wiped everything off around the differential and everything. So next we'll put the yoke back on and the washer and nut.
Okay, now to put the yoke back on, I cleaned it up really well, and I noticed, it's not too bad. It's smooth, it's just a little discolored, but it looks okay. And we'll go ahead, all the markings are still there. But before I put this on, the splines I'm not going to put anything on because a lot of people say don't bother, but I'm going to put a little bit of this red grease, just a very thin amount, just around the outside. You don't want to put it thick. You want oil to penetrate through it. It's just for not damaging the rubber seal as I'm pressing it on. So we're going to go ahead and just put a very thin film of that on.
Okay, you can see how I got all the yellow lines lined up. I got the nut and the washer on, and everything's lined up, and I torqued it back to where it was originally at, and then added an extra 30-second to compensate for the preload. And when I put the yoke on, I basically just over the 4 bolts where the U-joint bolts go, I just put a big 2x4 over it, pounded it flush, got it on pretty seated on there, and then I torqued that nut down too until she's all in place. So now it's a matter of just going ahead and putting the drive shaft back in and hoping and hoping. We'll just leave it at that. I think we'll be okay.
Okay, as you can see, I got the drive shaft back in. She's bolted in, and there's no leaks, so the seal is sealed. And I also took the opportunity here to take the plug out for the rear diff, and I topped it off with some gear lube, so there's no leaks going on there. It was pretty low, but there you have it, changing out the rear pinion seal. So there it is. So thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. We'll see you again.